Okay, this will probably sound extremely stupid to most of you. Damn, this seems stupid to me too now. What was I even thinking when I agreed to my wife's proposal that we have an open marriage? We had been fantasizing about this in the bedroom for a while now and had staged it during our dates a couple of times when I pretended to pick her up at a club. It was fun and really ignited our sex life. Everything was fine, but like all good things, it eventually got out of hand. Oh boy, it worked. My name is William Kennedy, my wife is Victoria. She doesn't like being called Vicky, so I and everyone who knows her stick to the name Victoria. It's strange, but my boss at the office, who is a rather formal person, likes to call me William all the time. We get along well, and I like my job. I am a lawyer in a consulting and accounting firm. My specialization is corporate law. I work long hours, but I have some flexibility and can set my own work schedule if necessary, and if the project I'm working on allows it. I have deadlines, but I keep them in mind, so my boss doesn't have any problems. Victoria works for a publishing company and spends most of her working time at home editing other people's texts. She can basically set her own schedule, which allows her time to spend with our 3 children. We have 2 daughters, 8 and 6 years old, and a son who is 5 years old. We are a normal family with busy schedules and a lot to do with the kids and their activities and trying to have fun along the way. As a couple, we try to go out at least twice a month. We don't always succeed, but we try. Until recently, I thought Victoria was happy with her life, with our lives. Besides working 60 hours a week, I was happy with our life. I thought we had a good relationship. Our sex life was active. I tried to do little things to show my wife that I loved her and appreciated what she did as a wife and mother. One night on our date, about a year ago, began a night that would change our relationship and marriage. Victoria began a conversation that would change the future and the tone of our lives. Honey, have you ever thought that we're missing something? Damn, I don't know. What are you thinking, Victoria? Well, we've been a little stuck in a rut lately. I don't understand you, dear. What does this routine look like for you? It seems like all we do lately is work and take care of the kids. We don't have time for ourselves. I thought about it and decided I knew where she was going with this. Want to go on vacation? Just the 2 of us? We could ask your parents to take the kids for a week if you want to fly to the Caribbean for sun and beach. We could both get a tan. That would be great, dear, but I had something else in mind to spice up our lives. Now I was curious what she was getting at. And what do you mean, dear? Victoria took a deep breath and began. You know how we role play, picking up others and having sex with them. What if we actually did it? What the hell are you talking about? My pulse quickened a little, and not in a good way. Listen to me for a minute. I'm just saying that if we explore the idea of an open marriage, we'll take it slow and see if it's right for us before we go big and commit to something. I was confused, I admit. This took me by surprise. I didn't know what to say. Think about it, Will. What if we could find other people compatible with us to have sex on a casual basis without the complications of romantic attachment or commitment? Think about the passion and intensity we could bring back into our marriage and each other. I suddenly realized that I was holding my breath and my blood pressure skyrocketed. What are you suggesting, Victoria? Do you want to deal with another man? She smiled. It won't be cheating, honey. It will be casual sex. No romantic attachments, no relationship like our marriage, and only occasionally, maybe a couple times a month. What do you think? What the hell was I supposed to think? So let me get this right. Do you want to go out and have sex with other men twice a month? Well, it doesn't have to be exactly twice a month. It could be less or it could be more, depending on what we want. I couldn't be more stunned than if she hit me with a hammer. I thought for a moment. And we can both do this? Yes, of course. We could both feel aroused. Just think of the new things we could learn about how to please each other that we're not currently doing. Just think of the renewed passion we could feel for each other. Friend, I exhaled. How would you go about this? You already have someone in mind that you plan to date if I agree. And right now, I don't agree, Victoria. Just think about it for a minute. We can have sex without any strings attached. It will be at a time that won't disturb each other or the kids. and will always be there for all the things we do now. Our family will be affected, and our individual lives can be better because of it. As a couple, we will benefit by increasing the passion we can show each other. In the back of my mind, I knew something didn't add up. Victoria always has a plan in mind for everything, and this was no exception. I decided that she was fantasizing about it too much, and might already have a man in mind that she would like to have sex with if I agreed to it. So, let me get this straight again. You and I can each find a sex partner outside of our marriage. You won't be jealous or angry or offended if I have sex with another woman, and you expect me not to be offended or be jealous if you have sex with another man? Is that what you want? Well, yeah, that's basically it. What do you think? We could try it. I needed to get to the bottom of this if I wanted to know the truth. If I agree to this madness, when do you want to start, and who do you want to start with? Who is this guy you're thinking about? She was so happy that I went along with her plan that she even inadvertently blurted out, "Well, there's a guy, Ian, at the publishing house who always asks me to go to lunch with him when I come to the office. He's younger than us, and according to others who work with him, he has a girlfriend." The cat is out of the bag. She had warm feelings for some young guy named Ian. So, Ian, huh? So what are you thinking, honey? Are you ready to be adventurous and see what new excitement we can bring to make our marriage better? I still don't understand how you having sex with another man will make our marriage better. If you want better sex for us, why don't we see what we can do together to make it better? Together, not with someone else. How will adding another man into your life make sex with me better? I just want to know. It's about you and me, darling. Just think of what new things we can bring to each other. It's like inviting a consultant to give us new ideas. Why don't we just go to a sex therapist, just the two of us? You having sex with some guy? It's not likely to do me any good. It was clearly difficult for Victoria to give up the idea of visiting a sexologist. Darling, you will see that my idea is good for both of us. Trust me, I would never do anything that could harm us or our marriage. It would be for the benefit of both of us. I started to get tired of this conversation with her. Victoria, I don't own you. I can't tell you what to do. I can only tell you what I think and what it can do to you and to me and our family. But Will, this will be an adventure for both of us. Just imagine how much better we can be for each other by learning from others. Victoria, we're not talking about evening classes here. You're talking about sexual contact with another man. Jesus! I got up from the table and went to the men's room to splash cold water on my face. Looking at myself in the mirror, I knew that she was up to something bad, and I knew that she would do anything, no matter what I said or did. I wiped my face and hands and returned to the table. I wasn't at all convinced that Victoria's plan would make our marriage better. I had a feeling that this would bring a whole new level of complexity into our lives. We already had enough to do to add sexual encounters with other people, even if it was agreed upon in advance. The thing is, I married Victoria expecting that we would only be there for each other. That's what marriage is all about. There is an expectation of fidelity and monogamy, or so I thought. We even said it in our marriage vows, that we will be faithful to each other. Clearly, my wife was not getting sexual gratification from me. This part made me feel depressed. The next 2 weeks were tense between us. She continued to smile at me with the unspoken expectation that I would suddenly shout out my agreement with her plan. She even intensified the usual sex ritual we had twice a week. For a whole week, she wanted to have sex every night. After we put the kids to bed, she took me by the hand and led me into the bedroom. We showered and washed away the dust of the day, exploring each other with our soapy hands. Victoria was sexy and fit, and clearly wanted to have sex with her more than twice a week. Did I ignore her needs? When we dried off and went to bed, she was more assertive than I had seen her in years. She wanted me to take her in a lot of different positions that we hadn't used since we had kids. Perhaps we really have fallen into a rut. But was sex with others the solution? After a week and no further talk about an open marriage, I thought maybe she had forgotten the whole thing as a bad idea. Perhaps increased sex was what she really wanted. I was wrong. Victoria was still having sex with me every night, and after one particularly hot session where she pleasured me twice, she brought it up again. Darling, have you thought about my suggestion to try an open marriage? Oh, shit. Honestly, I was hoping that all this extra sex was a sign that you might have decided you didn't want to go down this path anymore. Will, sex with you the last 2 weeks has been great, but we've done pretty much the same thing almost every time. We need to change things up, make them more interesting. That's what I hope to get others to do. I was disappointed that she still wanted to have sex outside of our marriage. So I guess that means you still want us to have an open marriage, so you can have sex with other men. My despondent tone suggested that I was still unhappy with the idea. Don't make it look so cheesy, Will. This is a chance for both of us to grow individually and bring new experiences back into our marriage. So the passion and intensity you're looking for, you're not getting now, with me, here? That's not true, Will. This is a chance for both of us to explore new things for our relationship. I think it will make us stronger as a couple. Victoria, as I told you before, I don't own you. You make decisions all the time about what you want and don't want. If that's what you really want, then I'm guessing you're going to continue with it, even if I'm against it. Be very careful what you seek because every decision you make may have unforeseen consequences. Thanks, Will. You'll see. It'll be good for both of us. So with that little discussion, it was pretty much settled. I left the bedroom to get something strong to drink. Victoria got what she wanted, an endless exit pass to have sex with as many other men as she wanted, and there was little I could do to convince her otherwise. It was so wrong. A month later, Victoria wasted no time in contacting Ian from her work. They met 2 nights a week, and although we agreed there would be no sleepovers. After the 4th meeting with him, she started texting me late at night to say she had had some wine and thought she shouldn't drive. How convenient. I told her to take a taxi. We sat down for a discussion after the kids went to bed on Saturday to talk about what we've been up to over the last month. Victoria, we need to work out a few things about this open marriage so that we don't do anything that the other one is uncomfortable with or that the other one doesn't agree to. Will, what are you talking about? Well, for starters, we agreed there would be no sleepovers. But you've stayed over with Ian 4 times in the last 2 weeks. That's not what we agreed to when we started this. I want you home at night. I honestly worry when you're not here. You don't tell me where you're going, and that needs to stop. Are you just mad that you have to get the kids ready for school on your own? No, the children have nothing to do with it. This concerns you, your actions, and our agreement. Okay, no more sleepovers. What's next? Perhaps we need to make a written agreement and both acknowledge our obligations to each other, to the children, and as a family. But Will, this is funny. We're adults. We can easily manage this. Maybe, but I think communication is the key to success for us. If you turn off your cell phone when you're with another man, that worries me. Your safety is important to me. Another big concern is protection. Your lover is using condoms. Will, I'm on birth control if that's what you're concerned about. Victoria, I'm worried about sexually transmitted diseases. Has Ian shown you a medical certificate saying he doesn't have any STDs? I didn't actually ask, Will. I'm sure he's fine. So he doesn't use condoms. Does he ejaculate inside you? Victoria blushed at this question. Yes, he does. So if he had an STD and didn't tell you and passed it on to you, then you could easily pass it on to me if we ever had sex again? Victoria was silent on this question. I made the decision that I would not have sex with my wife until she changed what she was doing, started using protection, was evaluated by our doctor, and agreed to not have unprotected sex again. Victoria, when you made the decision to no longer want a monogamous marriage, that decision led to commitment. Are you going to stop having sex with me? It needed to be said. Of course not, Will. I love you very much. We have children and we want to grow old together and take care of each other. I became more and more upset at her lack of concern for our well-being. I wasn't sure what to tell her next. I want to talk to Ian. Victoria was shocked by my demand. What? Why do you want to talk to him? I want to meet him and talk. I want to make sure he has your safety and best interests at heart. What I really wanted to know was whether Victoria was telling him the truth about our agreement, and whether he understood that she was having sex without the expectation of a romantic connection. I wasn't sure Victoria made that clear to Ian. She was too secretive about what she did for my liking. I suspected that he expected something from her that she could not give him, or at least told him that she was not going to give him, like love. Was she in love with this guy? If she developed feelings of love for him, then, of course, her love for me diminished. It is a rare person, man or woman, who can love two people equally. As feelings for one person develop, the level of intimacy and love for another decreases. This is human nature. It's just the way people are designed. I feared I was losing my wife, and there was little I could do about it. I didn't take any steps to find my own sexual partner. To be honest, this hasn't interested me much until now. But now, I suddenly saw another side of my wife and decided that what was good for her should also be good for me. 6 months later. Okay, it's been a few months since we started living as a couple in an open marriage. Victoria has a permanent boyfriend. First it was Ian, and now it's a guy named Henry whom she sees often. About 5 months ago, I decided to meet Ian. Victoria was against it, and the more she objected, the more confident I was that I was going to go talk to him and talk about the woman he had sex with, my wife. So one day I went to the publishing company's office to look for him. This was the day I knew Victoria would be working from home. I arrived at the office, and the receptionist gave me directions to Ian's cube. He was there. I must say that I was surprised by the young man I met. He was about 25, about my height, with brown hair and a thin build. I introduced myself, and when he stood up to shake my hand, he quickly realized that I was Victoria's husband. He quickly pulled his hand away. What was it? Hi, Ian. I'm Will Kennedy, Victoria Kennedy's husband. We need to talk. Let's go somewhere so we can talk in private. We have a lot to talk about. I beckoned him to follow me, not sure if he would follow, but he followed me, and I could see he was nervous. Perhaps he thought I had come to beat him up. I had the feeling that his perception of his relationship with my wife was very different from mine. We went to a coffee shop, got coffee, and a croissant. I wanted him to feel relaxed enough to talk to me. So, Ian, tell me a little about yourself. Ian was definitely nervous. It took a lot of questioning to get to the truth of his understanding of the relationship he had with Victoria and what his expectations were of her. After asking some questions, I started getting answers from him that revealed their true relationship. Apparently, Victoria started having sex with Ian about a month before we agreed to an open marriage. Ian never used condoms. He says he is disease-free and is willing to go to the doctor to get tested. He said that Victoria had said that our marriage was going through some rough patches and that I had not been emotionally supportive of her, and she was considering separation and separation. She also told him that I was okay with her having sex with other men. Ian finally asked me if I was upset with him and if I was planning to get back at him in any way. I assured him that no, I had no intention of beating him. He seemed visibly relieved by this. I told him that from now on he would use condoms with Victoria, and it was non-negotiable. And if I find out that he didn't use condoms, I will come and express my dissatisfaction in very tangible and physical ways. Does your girlfriend know you're having sex with Victoria? Which girl? Victoria is my girlfriend. Victoria told me that you have a girlfriend and that sex with her is in addition to your other relationships. My last girlfriend and I broke up a few months ago. Victoria is my only girlfriend now. It said a lot about how honest Victoria was with me. She lied to me about her relationship with Ian and how she saw their future. Her vision of the future looked very different from my vision at that moment. A couple of nights later, Victoria was really mad at me for going out to meet Ian. Will, why the hell did you go out with Ian? He says you were angry at him and threatened him. I smiled to myself. Did he tell you that I told him he shouldn't have sex with you anymore unless he used a condom? Yeah, he said, but condoms kill all the fun. Why do you want that? We're both disease-free, damn it. She was really annoyed now. I chose the upper path. Honey, I'm just concerned about your safety. We agreed that you and he would use condoms. You agreed to this. Victoria muttered something under her breath and left in a rage. We didn't speak for 2 days. When we spoke again, she was furious again. Are you happy now? Ian broke things off with me. I won't see him anymore. That's what you really wanted, isn't it, when you went out with him? What I wanted, dear wife, was to make sure that you were safe and did not contract a disease that could cause you great harm or kill you. That's what I wanted. I also wanted to make sure that no disease was transmitted me. But I probably don't have anything to worry about, do I, since we haven't had sex in so long that I forgot the last time it was. What happened to the idea that this whole open marriage business was supposed to be good for us as a couple and benefit our marriage? When will it start, Victoria? I was angry with her, and she knew it very well. Well, I hope you're happy now. And she left in a rage. A cold atmosphere has set in our marriage. It was a very quiet month. We didn't have sex. Damn, we barely talked to each other. And then everything suddenly changed. Victoria announced that she was dating someone new. She dressed in her tightest sheer blouse and skirt and put on 4-inch heels. Her hair and makeup were perfect, and she wore a new perfume that I don't remember her using before. Suddenly, she became sweeter than ever. She called me darling, for the first time in a long time, when she said she was going to meet someone she met online. A red flag flashed in my brain. Okay, where are you going, and who are you meeting? And remember, darling, you are expected home tonight. And I mean tonight, not 4 a.m. Things quickly got out of control after that. But I got the name and what he does, and the fact that he is divorced. She started seeing Henry once a week, and now, after a couple of months, she's almost living with him. She only sleeps at home a couple of nights a week, sometimes only one, and that's usually only when her lover is away for work. I think he's a sales representative for a pharmaceutical company, but I'm not entirely sure since Victoria doesn't want to share information about him. We stopped having sex a long time ago because I knew she was having sex with him without condoms, and I'm not very interested in reoccurring and possible STDs. I got tired of what she was doing and moved her things to the spare bedroom. It was unexpected for her, but I said that it would be more convenient if someone stayed with me for the night, especially considering that I am completely responsible for the children. Her idea that being able to have a relationship with another man would bring passion and intensity to our marriage didn't really pan out. It brought drama. Lots of drama. I became increasingly frustrated with Victoria. I should have just divorced her a long time ago, but I didn't. I hoped for the sake of the children that she would come to her senses and see that this would not lead to anything good for her, me or the children. If she did, we could go to couples counseling and try to understand what was in her mind when she wanted to cheat like that, and what was in my mind allowing her to do it. Yes, you will say that I am wrong too, and you will probably be right. I was too lenient with her and her nonsense. I did parenting without her involvement at home. This was noticeable to the children, and they wanted their mother to be around. They asked almost every day where she was and why she needed to be away so much. At first, I said she was spending time with a friend and would be back soon. But the fact that she was only home 1 or 2 nights a week did not give the children confidence that she was telling them the truth when she told them she loved them. The eldest, who is now 9, said, "Dad, why does Mom spend so much time with her friend? Who is he?" It was difficult for me to explain this. Victoria began to miss important things that she usually did for the children. I received a call from the school one afternoon saying that regularly scheduled parent-teacher conferences had passed the day before, and no one was there to talk about our children. The deputy director who called said that Victoria was usually there and asked if there was any problem. They will be happy to reassign. The school tried to call Victoria, but her phone was turned off and sent to voicemail. I apologized and said I would call back and make an appointment the next day. When I tried to call Victoria, her cell phone immediately went to voicemail. I left a very harsh message asking why she missed the parent meeting and asked her to call me. She didn't call for 3 days and then brushed it off as unimportant. I wanted her to come home to talk to me. She agreed come on Friday afternoon. I took the day off and got ready, decided to put forward an ultimatum. On Friday afternoon, she called and said that she would have to cancel the appointment, but she would try to see me sometime next week. She hesitated as she spoke, trying to make an excuse about work. I thought her boyfriend wanted to keep her busy. We'll probably satisfy his needs. The next big event that brought closure to the proverb was our daughter's birthday. Most parents attach great importance to their children's birthdays. They are important, and it tells children that their parents love them and care about them. Children understand this. They receive a couple of gifts, a cake, and ice cream, and usually have friends over to celebrate. My children are no different. But when your mom forgets your 10th birthday, you tend to notice. A few weeks ago, I asked Victoria if she was planning a birthday party for our daughter. At first, she said, "Of course I'll do it, Will." But no action was forthcoming, so I set about making plans, sent out invitations to the other child's parents, got the gift I knew my eldest daughter wanted, booked the party venue, and organized the food. I really wanted to know if Victoria remembered. She didn't. My daughter was heartbroken that her mother wasn't even there for her birthday party. Some other parents asked where Victoria was, and I spouted nonsense about work. My daughter was crushed that her mother forgot her birthday. I called Victoria on her mobile phone, and when she answered, I handed my phone to my daughter. "Mom, it's me. Where are you?" Victoria froze for a few seconds. "What's going on, dear?" "Mom, today is my birthday. Why aren't you here? We had a party and everything, but why didn't you come?" There was dead silence on the phone. My daughter thought her mother had hung up and handed me my cell phone. "Victoria, are you still here?" It's cold for me to hear crying on the phone. "Victoria, what the hell is happening to you? You missed Emma's birthday, damn it!" The phone went off. One of the neighbors' mothers came up to me and quietly asked if Victoria was okay. She hadn't seen her on the street for a long time, and I could tell that she felt like things weren't going well between her and me. That night, I decided that enough was enough. Victoria was not interested in me or her children, so I had to get a divorce. Essentially, we were divided. It's time to see this through. The next day, I called Victoria, and of course, her voicemail came right away. I left another short message. "Please call me. It's urgent and important. Better yet, come home so we can talk." I think the word urgent finally caught her attention because she showed up after dinner that night. "Will, what's wrong? What's urgent and important? Are the kids okay?" "Hi, Victoria. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. We need to talk. Please sit down." She looked at her watch when I said this. "Don't worry, it won't take long." "Okay, what do you want to talk about, Will?" "Ever since you left us, the kids have been asking when you're coming home. Are you going to come home, Victoria? Because it looks like you abandoned us." "Of course, I will come back, Will. I already told you that now is the time for me to find the passion and intensity that you and I have lost. When I can satisfy that need, I will come home. I will be a better wife for you, and we will again. Let's become a family." "Of course. Just so you know, Emma cried herself to sleep the other night when you didn't come to her birthday. Our other two kids asked me if you would come to their birthdays." Victoria's eyes widened and her expression said it all. "How the hell can you forget about your children's birthdays? Now drop a bomb on my wife and her lover." "Victoria, I've decided that I want a divorce." "What? What? Why do you want a divorce, Will? I'll be home soon." "Victoria, you should never have left in the first place. I thought that having a lover once a week for a couple of months might help you, and I was ready to forgive a one-time affair. But this has gone too far. You moved your things and work supplies months ago, achoo, and you barely remember that you have children and responsibilities to them, let alone me. My lawyer advised that the court will see that you have abandoned our marriage and children. But, Will, I love you and the children. Can't you see that?" "No, Victoria, I don't see it. If you love us so much, why did you leave us? Why did you move in with your lover? You talk about bringing passion and intensity back into our marriage, but that's just a joke. The joke was on me." "Ha, ha, good joke. Well, I'm done. I'm not laughing anymore. We're getting a divorce, and as soon as possible. So, pack up everything you want and go back to him. You're not my wife anymore. I'm not your husband. I'm going to step up my efforts to find a real wife and a new mother for our children. But Will, we're married. I'm your wife. You're my husband. I love you. I don't want a divorce. Well, I want a divorce. I've done some homework, and the courts in this state understand and recognize when someone has left a marriage. You left our marriage and your children. So get out of the house. Go back to Henry, where you clearly want to be. I don't want you anymore. Victoria looked surprised by what I told her and slowly packed her bag and quietly walked out the door. What I didn't discuss with Victoria was that while she was living with her new boyfriend, I started looking for a woman to have fun with a couple of weeks ago. Two can play Victoria's game. After searching the internet, the source of all knowledge of the universe, I realized that I needed a sex friend. I wanted recreational sex, not a romantic relationship. It was supposed to be casual, once or twice a week, and with someone who wanted the same thing. We will definitely use protection, at least in the beginning. And then, if all goes well, we will explore options depending on whether we are exclusive to each other. I looked at a lot of sites to see if women in my area were looking for the same thing as me. I wasn't very positive about what I saw. I looked at a couple of sites designed for married people who want to have an affair. Ashley Madison was one of them. There were a couple of promising candidates, but when I talked with them, I ruled them out. I began to despair at the shallowness of my prospects. And then, when I was already starting to feel sad that I was going to die a lonely old man, and quite by accident, I was in the bank and talking to a woman who is my personal banking consultant, Charlotte. I've known her for a couple of years, and she's divorced with 2 little girls. Her husband left her and her children for another woman. I'm not here to judge any relationship. God knows my own are in shambles. But let's just say that she and I had a long conversation about personal needs, and we ended up talking about sex and what we were both experiencing. She was currently experiencing sexual stagnation since she broke up with her boyfriend a few months ago. She wasn't looking for a permanent relationship, but she missed the physical intimacy of sex. Can I relate to this? But how can I? I gathered my courage and asked her directly if she would like to be sex friends. At first, she was a little shocked that I said that. I invited her out for drinks to discuss it. Even if it doesn't work out so we can be sex friends, at least it would be an evening with a woman and away from home. God knows I needed to get out. On Friday evening, I found a nanny to look after the children and met her at the local pub for a bite to eat and a couple of drinks. We both arrived by taxi so we could have more than one drink and not have to worry about driving. I arrived a little after her. She looked very nice and smiled at me when I walked in. I started, "I wasn't sure you'd be here. I can't even imagine what you must have thought about what I said in your office. I mean, I must look like an idiot." Charlotte laughed a little and replied, "I've been thinking a lot about what you said. I have to say you showed a lot of courage in telling me so much about yourself, your wife, and what you're going through." Charlotte is 2 years younger than me. She's 5'9", weighs about 150 pounds, and beautiful. That's the best way to say it. She has shoulder-length blonde hair, fair skin, and although she is overweight, she has curves and looks incredibly sexy. After 2 children, every woman puts on a little weight, but in Charlotte's case, she carried it well, and I found it hard to understand why her husband had left for another woman. Maybe for the same reason why my wife left for another man. We ordered drinks and food and talked about our lives. I wanted to be as open as possible with her and tell her everything about myself so that there were no surprises. I also wanted to know everything about her. We discussed all this over the next 3 hours. "Charlotte, I am not looking for a romantic, recreational, sexual relationship. My marriage to Victoria is almost over. We have legal issues and financial matters to work out, but the end is in sight. I have a lawyer who is working on this for me. Victoria has made her decision. She is not at once to be a mother to our children or my wife more. That's why I also need to move on. But I don't want to dive into a serious relationship. Not now. But I'm not a celibate monk either. I want to be with a woman. So here I am. Am I okay?" I took a sip of my drink and continued to say, "What I want is to be an equal partner for a woman and give her the same thing that I seek. I will under no circumstances do anything that a woman is not willing to do or is hesitant to do. I don't want to ruin anyone's life. I want to try to give as much or more than I receive. At least that's what I read on the internet about what it's like to be sex friends." Okay, I need to shut up now. Charlotte nodded the entire time I spoke. I made sure I looked into her eyes the entire time I was rushing. I knew I was talking non-stop, but I couldn't stop. As a lawyer, I have learned that the eyes tell the whole truth. If someone doesn't like what you say, they will look around or at the floor or ceiling. If they like what you have to say, they will look you in the eyes. This is human nature. Charlotte looked into my eyes. Wow. She took a deep breath and said, "So, when would you like to start this, if I agree?" Okay, well, soon, I guess. But I need to get a doctor's note saying I don't have an MLA. I'm guessing you'll want that before we do anything. We discussed the logistics of being sex friends and decided that since we both have kids, it should happen at a time and place when the kids aren't around. We had each other's cell phone numbers so we could send text messages. After we finished our food and drinks, we shared a taxi home, dropping her off first. We exchanged a few text messages the following week and agreed that we would begin our sex friends adventure the coming weekend. When Saturday night arrived, I was as nervous as a 17-year-old on his first date. Charlotte wanted to go eat first, and then we could go to the hotel for the sex friends part. We both had to find nannies to look after our children, and I needed to make a hotel reservation. We chose a place in the city center, and I made a room and table reservation at a restaurant nearby for dinner. My kids knew I was going on a date with a woman, and they were all at the door when I left. My oldest Emma winked at me and said, "Have a good time tonight, Dad. Don't worry about us. We'll keep Brittany busy all night playing games and eating popcorn." Brittany was a babysitter from the house next door and was 18 years old. Emma was too smart for her age. When I picked Charlotte up at her house, she told the nanny she would be back no later than midnight. I remembered this to make sure she would return a few minutes earlier. My nanny could stay until 1 a.m., so everything had to work out. Let me mention that I was nervous. I barely remember what I ordered for dinner. The waiter could have put a bowl of hot water in front of me, and I would have thanked him. Ill him. My stomach was shaking, and I know I was sweating a little. The waiting was killing me. Charlotte looked beautiful and enjoyed 2 glasses of wine with dinner. I had a glass of wine with the spaghetti I ordered. What, did I order spaghetti? Please don't get spaghetti sauce on your shirt, I kept thinking. I'll look like an idiot. I wanted everything to be perfect. I arranged for a bottle of white wine with ice to be delivered to our hotel room so it would be there when we went upstairs. Finally, dinner was ready. It was only 8 o'clock, but I watched the clock to make sure we had enough time to do what we wanted and that she was home by midnight. If this all turns out to be a failure, well, it could end much sooner. We got to our room, and there was wine waiting for us. I turned off the lights, turned on the music, and poured us both a glass. We drank a toast to our friends. We were both nervous as hell, and it showed when we drank some wine. I thought that I better not eat too much. Otherwise, it might cause a certain part of me not to function the way I wanted. Yes, my private place. Could alcohol cause me to not keep it up long enough, disappoint Charlotte, and then she would never want to see me again? Charlotte went to the toilet and a few minutes later came out naked. What do you think, Will? You could have knocked me down with a feather, I was so surprised. Wow, Charlotte, you're amazing. My eyes bugged out a little when I saw her form. She was curvy in all the right steps. She was just a pleasure to look at. Her breasts were large, but perfectly shaped and did not sag much. My God, I stood there for what seemed like an eternity, looking at this beautiful woman who was naked in front of me. Okay, I think it's my turn. I went to the bathroom, undressed, used the toilet, washed my hands, and left. I took a deep breath and opened the bathroom door. I hope I don't scare you away. I was in decent shape and had been running a lot lately to relieve the stress of being with Victoria. I watched what I ate and avoided the spare tire that many men buy in their 30s. I believed that my appearance would not frighten her. At least I hoped that wasn't the case. I walked into the bedroom, Victoria looked me up and down, and I saw a smile on her face. She looked lower, and I started to get excited. Victoria sat cross-legged on the bed with a glass of wine in her hand and whistled. "Ooh, I think I'm going to like this." I picked up my glass of wine, took a sip, set it down and walked over to the bed. Charlotte stood up, put the glass on the table, and after a short pause, we kissed. We started with a slow kiss, and then moved on to tongue. Wow. She was impatient and it showed. Me too, and it shows. I was like 17 years old. My God, this woman was beautiful, sexy, curvy, and I was so happy to be around her. My hands rested on her hips as we kissed, and her hands went behind my head, pulling my head down to meet hers. I felt the warmth of her body as she pressed herself against me. It didn't take us long to get to the bed, and I decided to ask Charlotte what she wanted. I read online that it is important for men to communicate with their partner to find out what they really want. This was the key to a successful relationship. Okay, I can work with that. I'm a lawyer. I know how to ask questions. Oh God, Will, I'm so fucking horny. Just have sex with me, please. I need this so bad. We can talk about other things later. Right now, please take me. Fine. That was all the support I needed at the moment. I moved towards Charlotte and kissed her again. She wrapped her legs around me. It felt like I was having sex with a woman for the first time, all over again. The excitement was crazy. We held out for about 15 minutes and then collapsed into each other's arms. She was breathing heavily. Oh my gosh, Will, that was so good. I needed it so much. My breathing returned. That was fucking awesome, Charlotte. Give me a few minutes and we can try again if you want. Oh yes, I want to. We took a sip of wine and talked about how wonderful our first orgasm together was. I immediately realized that we weren't using a condom. Oh my gosh, have I already screwed up? I let my hands slowly explore her body, starting from her neck and ending with her breasts, and then her thighs, and private part. And we are again. Got busy sex. After 2 hours of great sex, we were both exhausted, and I looked at the clock to see that it was already a little after 10:30. We had time to relax, drink some more wine, and then shower together before we had to leave and go back to our families. I called a taxi at 11:15, and it was a 15-minute drive to her house. When she got out of the car, I also got out to say goodbye. So, was this what you expected? Oh yeah, big boy. We'll do it again, a lot, if I say anything about it. She smiled, and I kissed her lips and watched her walk to her front door. After she came in, I was driven home, and I paid the babysitter. The kids were already asleep, but my daughter came down to the living room and wanted to know how my date went. Honey, everything went just fine. I had a good time. Charlotte is a very nice person. I really like her. Will she be our new mother? Wow, where did this come from? 10-year-olds today know things that I didn't know at their age. It's none of your business, darling. Besides, it was only our first date. I don't know when the second one will be. Dad, will Mom ever come back? This was a difficult question. I lowered my voice. I don't know, but I do know one thing, and that is that I will never leave here, only with you and your brother and sister. You can count on that. Thank you, Dad. She hugged me, and then we went back to her room and I put her to bed. I went to the kitchen, grabbed a glass of water, and sat down at the counter to think. My wife practically left her family to live with her lover. I was on a date with a wonderful woman who could become my new sex friend. Tonight was the most fun I've had in the past year. The sex was fantastic. I wanted this to continue. I wanted a woman who could share her life with me. On Monday, I called my divorce lawyer to discuss moving forward with the process. I already had the financial details, so I pretty much knew what it would cost to divorce Victoria. This would mean using my retirement savings to pay her for her share of the house, and it would probably mean paying alimony for several years. But now, it seemed worth it. There was a time. She had no interest in returning, and it was clear that she no longer wanted her children or me. I told my lawyer, "Go ahead and file the papers. I have an address for her and she mostly works from home, so finding her shouldn't be a problem. Do it, and let's end this marriage." 3 days after Victoria and Henry lived in the apartment, the documents were delivered. The document delivery specialist skillfully bypassed the apartment security so that when he knocked on the door, she was there alone. She opened the door. "Victoria Kennedy, this is for you." He handed her the envelope. "You have been handed it." Victoria was stunned by his words. She knew what the envelope contained. She slowly closed the door and placed the envelope on the kitchen table. She waited for over an hour before opening it. She reflected on the past year and the decisions she had made. Were these smart decisions? Did she really think things through when she told her husband she wanted to take a lover? Was Henry such a big catch that she was willing to give up her life and children for him? Sex with him was the best she'd ever experienced. But was it enough? Was Will such a boring husband and lover that it made her run away from him and her children? Did she dislike her old life enough to sacrifice it for Henry? These were difficult questions. She cut the envelope and carefully pulled out the papers. She seemed to expect them to explode in her face. She reread them. Divorce, charges of elopement and infidelity, division of marital property. Her husband will receive full custody of the children, but she could have the right to see them, which must be agreed upon. Child support in the amount of $1,000 per month for 2 years. She set the papers down on the kitchen table and finally realized, "Oh my God, what have I done?" All the lies and bullshit she had told Will over the last 2 years had now come back to haunt her. She would no longer be able to convince herself that she had won, that she could do whatever she wanted and Will wouldn't complain, that she could have sex with any man she wanted and Will wouldn't be able to say a word against it. Victoria immediately called Will's cell phone. It went to voicemail. She left a short message asking him to call her about some papers she had just received. She then called her old home number. No one answered there either. She decided that she needed to go home and try to save her marriage. She found her car keys and purse and walked out to her car. She drove to the house to find that her key no longer worked in any of the doors and the code to enter the garage had also been changed. She went into full damage control mode. Victoria then went to Will's office. His administrative assistant, who knew Victoria had left him for her lover, quickly told her that he had left the office and would not be returning that day. Since the conversation with him here had failed, she had no choice but to return to her old house and wait for Will and the children when they returned from school. The children returned from school around 4 p.m. with an after-school babysitter. The children openly treated her coldly, and the eldest daughter categorically refused to even acknowledge her mother beyond a brief, "What are you doing here?" Victoria sat in the dining room while the children had a snack and started doing homework. She noticed that Will had redecorated the interior a bit since she was last here. There were other things on the walls, also different curtains, as well as a couple of new pieces of furniture. Will finally pulled into the driveway around 5:15 p.m. When he came in through the back door from the garage, she jumped up to meet him. "Will, honey, I'm home and so glad you're here. Honey, we need to talk about some papers that were delivered to me today." "Great, Victoria. Did you sign them and bring them with you?" "I signed them before my lawyer sent them to you. I think what I'm proposing is reasonable and consistent with family and divorce laws in this state. The children will stay here with me. I don't argue about that, but you can visit them if you want and if they want to see you. Honey, I'm going home tonight. I decided that I really need you and the children in my life. I was wrong when I thought that I needed to find something with another person. You and the kids are all I need. Now I know it. I am coming home and will work hard to be a good wife to you and a good mother to our children." "Not so fast, Victoria. When you decided to leave your family for Henry, you made that decision. I remember trying several times to talk you out of it, but you were adamant that this was what you wanted. Well, you did it, and now you have to live with the consequences. So no, you're not coming back. Your home is now with Henry, so you can come home to him. You don't live here anymore. You are not a refuge for a year." Victoria was now quietly sobbing, and I handed her tissues to blow her nose. I waited a few minutes for her to come to her senses. "I think it's time for you to go. Can I see the children, please? Okay, I'll go get them. I went upstairs to get the children and told them their mother was downstairs and wanted to see them. They were hesitant to see her, but after some discussion and convincing me that they didn't have to tell her anything if they didn't want to, they slowly followed me into the kitchen. It had been months since they had last seen their mother. Victoria smiled at them and said, "Hey kids, I need your hugs." They all stood still and did not move towards their mother. The eldest, Emma, asked her, "Why did you leave us and Dad?" Victoria started crying again. "I'm coming home, children. I missed you all so much. I love you all so much." My daughter quickly retorted, "If you love us so much, why did you leave us and stay away for so long?" At this question, a shocked expression appeared on Victoria's face. The answer she received was not the one she wanted to admit, that she wanted to have sex without consequences with men other than her husband and not worry about her family and what it would do to them. She didn't care about her family, only about herself. Only now did she realize what she was losing. I jumped up. "Children, why don't you go back upstairs? Your mother and I have a lot to talk about right now, and it will be better if we do it just the two of us." The children frowned at their mother as they walked out of the kitchen. Emma led her sister and brother back to their rooms. I waited a couple of minutes and then started, "So, are you so sure that leaving us for your boyfriend Henry was such a great idea? I mean, did you really believe that you could leave for that long and then come back as if nothing had changed between us at all?" I waited for her to answer, but I heard nothing except that she continued to sob and blow her nose. I started moving on in case you didn't know that. I think you only realized this when you were served with the divorce papers today. Enough of your nonsense. More silence, more sobbing. "So you can pack up all your things that you haven't taken with you yet. I put everything I could find into a few boxes, all in the garage, so it's easy for you to handle. You can get Henry to help you pick them up. If you want to take anything else from here, let me know. You can get whatever you want, except for me and the children." I waited another minute to see if Victoria had anything to say. Nothing. "I think it's time for you to go. I have nothing more to tell you. I don't want you to come back. The kids don't want you to come back. You need to go home to Henry. Find your lawyer. If you want, look at the divorce papers, and we can ask them to look into the finer details." I stood up and started moving towards the front door, opened it, and waited for her to leave. "Goodbye, Victoria." She sat there looking confused for a moment, then stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked out the front door. I closed the door behind her and took a deep breath. 3 months later, my lawyer scheduled a final meeting for us to sign the divorce papers. We haggled a little about visiting the children, but in the end, we agreed that children should not be forced to visit their mother if they do not want to. The first few visits will be supervised by grandparents, and then, if things go well, Victoria will bring the children to visit herself. The children decided whether they wanted to see their mother. If they had not done this, the visit to her would not have taken place. As it turns out, they had a couple of visits, but when they met Henry, they didn't want to go back. They thought he was creepy. In my opinion, they are good judges of people. My time with Charlotte got to the point where we were spending more and more time together. We met 2 or 3 times a week. On one of our Facebook dates, I suggested she do something other than the great sex we were enjoying. I suggested the opportunity to do something with our kids. His daughters were about the same age as my youngest 2, and I really wanted my kids to meet her kids, and who knows what would happen. We took the kids to the zoo, and after the first walk, we ate pizza. Things were going well, the kids were getting along great, and my relationship with Charlotte went from Facebook to full-on dating. 1 year later. Okay, a lot of time has passed, and a lot has changed in my life. I became a year older and a year wiser. I live with Charlotte, or I should say that the 7 of us live together. 5 children is not much. They are. It doesn't matter what anyone says. We all fit in perfectly in my house, and with 2 girls sharing 1 room, we live quite normally. We became a family. Charlotte and I got married right after we merged our 2 families into one. It was a small ceremony with family and a few friends. My judge friend and I got married in the Dominican Republic on the beach. It was delicious. Once a week we have dates where we pay attention to each other and, in addition to great sex, we talk a lot. We agreed that we should never stop talking to each other, no matter what it was about. One night at dinner, all the kids told us they wanted to try camping. So we purchased camping equipment and decided to try it at the state park. It turned out great, and the kids were delighted. The bonfire and roasted marshmallows were a big hit. Several times when the marshmallows caught fire, I saw the fireball coming towards me and dodged to avoid being hit by the sticky flames. 4 girls and 1 boy can laugh a lot as they have fun with burning marshmallows. I adopted 2 of Charlotte's girls, so now everyone in the house has the same last name. It simplifies things. A month ago, on our date night, Charlotte surprised me again. She is a wonderful woman and brings me countless happiness every day. That night, after we ordered dinner, I noticed that she had not ordered wine with her meal, but had asked for water. That in itself didn't mean anything, but when she pulled out a small white stick from her clutch that I immediately recognized and then handed it to me, then I understood. She smiled as she handed it to me. "You might want to take a look at this, darling." Damn it, she was pregnant. My wife of less than a year, the woman with whom I already have 5 children, is expecting another one. Wow. We started preparing for the arrival of our new baby. The biggest surprise of all was that Charlotte was expecting twins. Oh my, we will have 7 children. It's good that I got a promotion at work and now head the legal department of the company. My salary and benefits nicely cover the financial needs needed to take care of this gang, and we can save money for education later. We bought a cottage on a lake, 2 hours away from home, as a place to get away for the summer months. We began renovating and expanding it to make room for 7 active and growing children. Looking back, I'm a very happy guy. A disastrous marriage ended, and a new one began in just 2 years. What was a very difficult time for me and my children when Victoria decided to leave us for someone else. It turned out well when I was lucky enough to find a wonderful woman to love, and who loved me and the children. Every morning, as I began the organized chaos of life with a large family, I took a moment to be grateful for the good fortune I had in meeting Charlotte and her daughters, and now with 2 additional ones to make our lives complete. Our kids got along with each other, and we were a family. And my wife was the sexiest woman I knew. As for Victoria, her life was what she made for herself. She and Henry separated shortly after our divorce. Henry appears to have been interested primarily in sex with married women, and soon after he left Victoria for another woman whom he seduced into leaving her husband. Victoria continued to work as a book editor and moved into a 1-room apartment from where she could work. I heard that she was dating someone, but other than that, I didn't know much about her life. One time, when Charlotte and I were outside with the children while she was pregnant with twins, I'm sure I saw Victoria walking somewhere in the center of town. She couldn't help but notice us walking in a crowd, with the older children holding the hands of the younger ones. We didn't stop to talk to her that time. I know she looked at us as we passed by. Perhaps she thought it could be her walking with the children. Perhaps she thought she was glad she didn't have to take care of children and a husband. Who knows for sure? For me, I'm just glad I have a wonderful wife and all these kids. I wouldn't trade them or my life for anything. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.